If you're stressed, it affects your entire body. Why would it not affect your hair? So keep that in mind. If you're stressed out, if you're angry. And hello. This is Dawn of Dawn Michelle Salon. Welcome to my 2 cents. This is my blog. And if you're watching this inside of the blog site, thank you so much for tuning in. This particular episode is about reasons why your hair is falling out. So if you're saying, why is my hair falling out? This is the video for you. So don't forget, all the links are in the description below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on the blog, I will put links underneath of this particular video. So top 10 reasons your hair could be thinning or falling out. Number 1, medication. This is including but not limited to shots, vaccines, high blood pressure meds, especially high blood pressure meds. 9 times out of 10, when somebody sits in my chair, and the first thing we were taught in hair school was to ask, are they on any medications? And most times, somebody's on medication. As soon as I say, are you on high blood pressure meds? They immediately be like, yeah. If you look at the side effects at the medication that you're on, a lot of my older clients, you're on a cocktail of meds just naturally. That's just what it's become, where most people are on some type of cocktail of meds. It might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meds. Google it. It just take a minute. Google your own medication and see what the side effects are of it. And at least you'll have a clear answer. Now, I am in no way saying get off any of these medications. I would never say nothing like that. I am not a medical professional. It's just I'm giving you the reasons why, just for clarity. In regards to shots, and I'm going to take this time because I don't want anybody coming at me talking about how dare you talk about the COVID shot or anything like that. I'm going to base this on other vaccines. Just to be clear, I'm going to, right here, look at the screen on how vaccines itself can have an effect on your hair and your body parts. So, all right, so I wanted to stop that video just so that I make this real clear, because when I first did the video, I was under the impression that I'm only looking at what you see right here, which had to do with hepatitis B and all those different things. Then I happened to find an article, which you see right here, and I'm going to post a link where you can find this article. This is through NIH.gov, where it is proven, well, not that many cases, but it's coming up more and more that people who have received the COVID-19 vaccination are getting alopecia, different types of alopecia, and balding. So I have actually gotten into actual arguments with people where they'll come in after taking the vaccine. All of a sudden, I didn't change my product line. They blaming me. And I'm just like, this at the beginning of the pandemic, I sounded crazy when I said it could be the shot. So anything you eat, anything you ingest, medication, it affects your hair. And I have a lot of anti-vaxxers on my clientele, and I got a lot of people that are pro-vaccine. So I had a lot of people who had thinning hair. Not to say it's permanent, but if you have medication in your, in your system, sometimes it just got to flow out. You urinate it out, defecate it out, whatever, sweat it out, but it just got to have time to go through your system. It's going to have side effects. I mean, that's just normal. I don't even want to get into this whole vaccine debate. So we're going to move on to number 2. So number 2 reason would be your diet. So especially my dehydrated people, not enough vegetables. And this is something we were taught in hair school. I went to hair school 20 years ago, Dudley Beauty School in Baltimore, Maryland. So we were taught to ask all these things, just as if you go to a physician's office and then you complain about something's wrong, they're going to say, well, they go through a list of, well, what did you eat? What do you know? So we do the same thing as hairdressers, or at least we're supposed to, as licensed cosmetologists, I should say, and not hairdressers. So something simple as dehydration could, be the reason why your hair is drying out, and cracking off. Sometimes your hair is just that dry to where it'll just, especially my natural hair clients, if your hair is, drying out, sometimes it has to do with diet. And if you're eating, especially you're eating a lot of junk foods, a lot of processed foods, sometimes you don't even recognize what's on the box, and that stuff is going into your system. It's just common sense. It's sound logical reasoning that it's going to have an effect on your body. As the saying went, as we were growing up, you are what you eat. That is factual. You are what you eat, and it affects every part of your anatomy, including your hair. So we're going to move on to number 3, stress. That's a big, 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 big one. A lot of times clients are embarrassed to talk about stress, anger, whatever. I don't expect anybody to divulge their personal business with me. It's none of my business, but I do throw it up like, hey, it could be stress, something like that. If you're stressed, some people scratch their head because they're stressed. It could be anything. If you're stressed, it affects your entire body. It's a whole lot of different post-traumatic disorders that people go through to where, it affects your thinking. It affects, all these different parts of your body. Why would it not affect your hair? So keep that in mind. If you're stressed out, if you're angry, all that stuff goes into effect, goes in, and it can affect your hair growth and your hair breaking off. And we're going to go into number 4, which is childbirth. A lot of us mommies, myself included, when we have our babies, we get the epidural. The side effects, I saw it never fails. I mean, a lot of mothers I've come across, especially right after they've given birth, within the 6 months to a year after birth, right here in the temples. Because it happened to me. Right in my temples, it went out. I had epidural with the second baby. And the hair actually, I had a little plug right up in here that was gone for years. It took a while to grow back. So that goes back into what I was saying in number 1 in regards to the medication. So epidurals is a form of medication. It does have side effects. I'm not a physician. I'm not giving any type of medical advice. I want to issue that disclaimer. I'm just saying, when you talk to other mothers, what they go through after medication, epidural, the Pitocin, what they give you in your vein to help speed up the labor. I mean, if you look on any commercial medication, it's going to list like 50 different side effects. That's not make believe. It's true. When they did their clinical trials, they went through the whole process of seeing what people went through, what the side effects were, from A to Z. So that includes childbirth. And so we're going to go on to number 5. This one right here is essential because I'm going to put a plug in for myself for my special serum, I should say, of essential oils that I use in my clients, because you could be scratching your hair out. And I have said that to people. It's a different kind of look with people who scratch their hair out. Like, it's not that alopecia look where it's like a bare bald. Most of the time it's not. Sometimes it can be. And I have seen people's hair grow back off that bare bald alopecia type thing. But most of the time people who scratch their hair out, you'll see like it'll be natural hair and then it'll be pieces in between that's shorter than the longer pieces. And it is weird looking. It's a certain kind of look. And the first thing I say is, do you itch in your scalp? Now, some people don't even realize that they're itching. Like, I had a client that told me, no, I don't itch. And I'm just looking at her hair like it looks like you're scratching your hair out. It took her like a little while afterwards. She called me and she told me that her spouse had said, you was going for it in your sleep. So you don't know what you do in your sleep. You passing gas. You're doing all types of stuff in your sleep. So you don't know what you're scratching, and that is, if you're scratching at night, and that trickle back down to stress and diet, all these different things, you could be literally scratching your hair out. It could be as simple as that. That's the first thing I would tell people. Look at the shampoos that you're using. Because if you're scratching your hair out, a lot of times us as African Americans, we go straight to, oh, you need to put some grease in it. No. I want you to think of it in the way of, if it was a white person or a Spanish person that has the straight hair, or Indian, whatever, from India, or Asian person. If they have dry scalp, are they going to the store and getting some Blue Magic or some grease? No, they're going to change the shampoo. They're going to sulfate-free shampoos. They're trying different things other than grease. For some reason, in the African-American community, we think you're supposed to slap some grease on it. That's like a Band-Aid. And it may work for some people, but a lot of us with irritated scalps, it does not work. So just keep that in mind. You could be scratching your hair out. Number 6, your hair could be too dry. It needs hydration. For example, you might be a swimmer, or you might be somebody who constantly has to wash or shampoo their hair 2-3 times a week. it could be so dry that it's cracking off. A lot of times I see this, especially with color treated hair, chemically treated hair, such as relaxers or color. Also, I see this with natural hair as well, like especially natural hair. If you're 100% natural, you got naturally curly, kinky hair, and your hair is just breaking, 9 times out of 10, I automatically assume it's just dry. You know, your hair could just be basically dry. That could go into, are you using a bonnet at night? Are you sleeping on a cotton pillow? Like, you got to really start weeding stuff out to figure out, is this the reason why my hair is basically cracking off? It could be just dry. Also, going back to shampoos, you need to use moisturizing shampoos. I highly recommend Care. I'm going to put a picture right here of what Care is, because I love the hydrating shampoo. Even the clarifying shampoo, it has moisturizers in it. It's like whoever came up with this line, they made it for, especially in my opinion, Black people hair. That particular line, I hope they never change it. I love it because it's just moisturizing. It's sulfate free. I love it. Which brings us to number 7, too much false hair. This is the tricky one, because I get, if you're thinning, you want to wear false hair. Why would you want to wear the false hair to cover it up. But sometimes it could be too heavy. Like when I'm starting to get out of the false hair, because I'm not supposed to be doing it in accordance, basically I'm cutting it out for the sake of Allah. I'm not supposed to be adding hair. So I'm getting out of it. I've already stopped accepting any new clients that's getting added hair clients, but I shall digress from that conversation. That's a whole nother video. But when I used to put the fake hair in, if you put too much, especially the synthetic, that's what I would work with. I try to do it kind of light. So when people leave my chair, they'll be like, oh, my hair is so light, because I know when you put too much of anything on your hair, it's only meant to carry but so much. And it could break it off, and then it could really damage it at the follicle. Like, it could really damage it because of the weight alone. Also, if we're dealing with human hair, some people are allergic to certain human hair. So you could also, that goes back to scratching it out. It could be that, just having false hair can possibly pull your hair out, especially if somebody doesn't know how to remove it properly. Sometimes you might get these quick weaves or whatever, and you might think you're going to rip it out yourself instead of going back to the stylist who put it in. That could be something really bad that could tear your hair out. So, which brings us to number 8. Wrong products. I implore people, when you find something, look at the reviews. So I had a client, natural, older lady, and then all she was getting was a wet set. So when she kept coming, it was like every time she came, I had less and less hair to roll, and I was like, what is going on? Something told me, ask her one day, what are you putting in your hair? And she said, I don't even want to give this product line a bad name. I don't even want nobody trying to come back to me, but this is a popular brand. So when I looked up the reviews, I was like, people is tearing this to shreds. I believe they even had a class action lawsuit, and I was saying, look, she's older. You got to look this up. Before you put some in your hair, look at the reviews. Don't just go and put it in your hair, because your hair is literally falling out, from the root. And that happened again, like years later. That had to be almost 10 years ago. And then recently, I just had a client who had stopped coming for a while, and then she came back, and then we're trying to grow her hair back, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And when she mentioned the same product, I knew it. I said, yeah. So just be careful what kind of products you put in your hair. Look at reviews. Look at reviews. I highly recommend professional products. Highly. Because a lot of times you can't always go to CVS or Walmart for products. Sometimes you have to spend the extra money, stylists included. Myself included. I had to start upping, the amount I was spending on products, because it makes a difference with your client's hair. And it makes a difference when you're doing your at-home care. Pay attention to what you're putting on, especially products. When you use the edge control, stuff like that, you can't cake that stuff on. Like, it's water-based. It could crack your hair off. Just pay attention to it. Sometimes when you're natural, the pressure alone of a scarf at night will keep your natural baby hairs down, as opposed to the product just gooping it on. You don't need excess product on your hair. That it can have bad side effects. So we're going to go Number 9, skipping around to too many stylists. We're going to equate this to skipping around to too many mechanics. Now, if you got a car, in fact, we used to do that back in the day. We had a car, and we was taking it to this person, that person, and eventually, nobody could tell us what's wrong with the car, because if the last person who just did it didn't know the history of it, they can't give you a good picture of what's wrong with your car, and then you're building a relationship to understand how to fix it. That's the same with your hair. You can't have too many, or you shouldn't have too many people's hands in your hair. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's not good. Now, don't get me wrong, because I got clients who might have me and then a spare stylist, or I might be somebody's spare stylist or whatever. I get that. Sometimes your stylist isn't available, you have a second one. I understand that. But when you every month you switching, and then you wonder why your hair ain't growing, that's why your hair not growing. You can't do that and expect a different result. They're using two different product lines. You don't know what's the cause. Sometimes you got to weed it out. What's going on? Why is my hair breaking off? And number 10, heat damage or chemically breaking the bonds of the hair. So heat damage, that can happen when you have a flat iron that's way too hot. I'm not going to mention the name brand of this flat iron I was using, but it was very expensive. This was probably a $200-$300 flat iron. Now they about $500. And that's the reason why I didn't purchase it again, because it was just too much money. And I realized that when people were, when I was flat ironing it, it would take a while to go back to the natural state. When you get your hair flat iron silk pressed, the next shampoo, it should be going back to your natural state. Otherwise, you're looking at heat damage. So heat damage is hard to reverse, but it could cause breakage. And if you notice, if you get it straightened too often, the ends, or even all the way from the root to the end, it'll be so straight, it won't go back. That's breaking the bonds, just like how relaxers can break the bonds of the hair and break it down so that it'll be all the way straight. So you need to keep that in mind when you're using a flat iron excessively. It can dry the hair out. It can break the bonds of the hair. And also, chemically, you don't want to do a lot of double processing, probably triple processing. Now I'm thinking about it, because if you have relaxer in your hair and then you're throwing in a color that has to be lifted, meaning you're not getting something that's your own hair color, you're getting something lighter than that, you might want to slow down on that, especially if you're dealing with hair breakage already. That is not a good idea. It is possible for your hair to come right out in the sink. I've seen it happen. So you want to keep all that in mind. So thank you for watching. I want you to check out my blog. I'm going to put the link right here on this screen. And I'm also going to put a link in the description box if you're viewing this on YouTube. And more than likely, if you stayed all the way to the end, this was on the Groupon page. So whoever's watching this, if you're on YouTube and you need a hairdresser in Maryland or Hyattsville, Maryland, you can hop right on this website. And I'm going to put it right here. And you could get a Groupon voucher and just come get your hair done here. So at Dawn Michelle Salon. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. If it's on a blog, leave me a comment on a blog. And y'all have a blessed and prosperous day.